When I was a kid, I watched a lot of weird shows that not a lot of people talk about these days, and one of these shows was called Code Lyoko. Code Lyoko revolves around these 4 middle school kids who find a supercomputer in an abandoned factory close to their school that houses a demonic artificial intelligence called Xana. Every episode, Xana attacks the real world, the kids go to the virtual world inside the supercomputer called Lyoko, get Aelita, a pink-haired girl living on Lyoko, to the tower Xana's activated. Aelita deactivates it with the code Lyoko. Hey, that's the show title. They return to the past, rinse and repeat for 4 seasons and 97 episodes, and that's Code Lyoko. Now, Code Lyoko has 5 main characters. You have Jeremy, the super smart one who runs the supercomputer during their missions. Odd, the comic relief goofball who causes trouble but has a heart of gold. Ulrich, the edgy one with issues socializing, good at sports, and also wields a sword. Yumi, the mature one in the group who's good at fighting, flipping, and getting crapped on by Xana every other week. And Aelita, the pink-haired VTuber girl who lives on Lyoko. Despite having 5 main characters to pay attention to, every episode does a great job including every character in a meaningful way, and no character is neglected within our core 5. It's hard to decide who the true main character in the show is, but you guys can probably guess my answer based on the thumbnail. It's Aelita. The only halfway decent argument might be Jeremy, because he's the first one in the theme song, the one that discovered the supercomputer, the one that brought the group together, and the one who's constantly working behind the supercomputer. But unlike Jeremy, Aelita drives the plot. The show revolves around keeping her safe and discovering her past, and the goal of every season revolves around her in one way or another. In Season 1, the gang's goal is to materialize Aelita into the real world so that they can shut down the supercomputer, shutting down Xana for good. Well, until someone else turns on the supercomputer and dooms the planet. Now this season, Aelita is barely involved in the real world plots and doesn't really have much personality besides being friendly and scared. But the plot revolves around bringing her to the real world, and she's the only one who can deactivate the towers, so she is the most important character. But this season does do a good job introducing Aelita's most important character trait, her selflessness. She is willing to give up on her chances of living on Earth, or even sacrifice her life, in order to save the world and the new friends she's made. No doubt the most selfless character in the show is her. Aelita in Season 2 gains a lot more personality, which makes a lot of sense since the show's Bible was rewritten, and Aelita went from being just an AI living on the computer to an actual human girl who has been trapped in the computer for 10 years. This whole season is peak Aelita being the center of attention. The gang's goal is to create an antivirus to free Aelita from Xana, who had linked them together when Jeremy brought Aelita into the real world. Xana's goals is to steal the keys to Lyoko so it can escape from the supercomputer and destroy and/or take over the world. And as the season goes on, we learn more about Aelita's past on Earth and her connection to Xana and Lyoko. Season 2 is also where Aelita develops the most as a character. She has to adapt to living on Earth and going to school with the rest of the gang, and despite her initial struggles, she starts to get used to it and she learns a lot. She starts out shy, but as the season goes on, her confidence goes up, from roasting Sissy as the rest of the group would, to fighting and deactivating a tower all by herself when the scanners are destroyed. Seriously, she was rocking that overboard and fooling Xana left and right. I wish we got to see more of that in the show. And she starts developing her own hobbies apart from Jeremy and Lyoko, like being a DJ. By Seasons 3 and 4, while Aelita's importance in the story isn't as much as in past seasons, she's still the only one who can deactivate towers, and Xana always wants something from her in one way or another. Meanwhile, her confidence and street smarts have gone way up, shown by when she's able to get Odd and Ulrich to follow her orders when they mix up Lyoko in the real world, and how she confidently walks through an army of deadly crows leading the group behind her. Season 3 is when Aelita finally develops a way to defend herself, and when she's able to be devirtualized without being killed for real. While initially not as capable at fighting as the others, she develops her powers and is able to defend herself and Lyoko against Xana. Though the timing of this couldn't have possibly been worse, because this is the season where Xana is constantly trying to possess Aelita and use her to destroy the sectors, meaning Xana can use her powers to fight back against the main crew. Whoops. On the bright side, at least Aelita is able to be rematerialized normally so that she won't straight up die after destroying a sector. Now that Aelita knows about her past with Franz Hopper, she wants to find her father and reunite with him. The episode called Aelita explores this, while Aelita drags Odd into Sector 5 against Jeremy's wishes to find data on Franz Hopper. She does end up finding some data that Jeremy realizes is from Franz Hopper, and the two try to work together to rematerialize Franz Hopper into the real world before Lyoko is destroyed. But sadly this fails and Lyoko is destroyed. But with Franz Hopper's help, she and Jeremy are actually able to recreate Lyoko within a week. In Season 4, Aelita has reached the peak of her character development. She was the pseudo-leader of the team and was able to get them out of some difficult situations using her wits and critical thinking. While she was still a damsel in distress from time to time, mainly because William kept trying to yeet her into the digital sea, she was able to hold her own and guide the team to victory. She had gone from a defenseless elf to a guardian angel. Literally, she got wings in Season 4. I guess Aelita learned what Red Bull is. Meanwhile, Aelita's backstory gets a bit more depth as we find out her mother was kidnapped by some men in black and all she wants to do is reunite with her parents. In distant memory, she is able to tell Xana is masquerading as Fran's Hopper, knowing her father is a perfectionist and would have included her mother, the person she wants to see more than anything. We sadly never learn more about her mother and her backstory, but without a doubt, she has the most fleshed out character and backstory in the whole series. Seeing Aelita's growth from Season 1 to 4 is one of the funnest parts of watching the show, and seeing her go from a computer AI learning to be human to a confident human who's accepted her past and ready to move forward with her life is a joy to see. She's my favorite character in this show, and seeing how her existence drives the plot in one form or another, it's safe to say she's the true main character. But like I stated in the beginning, Code Lyoko is really good at making each character have something to do and seem necessary in the episode. It's one of the few shows I know that balances having 5 main characters pretty well. Let me know what you think of Code Lyoko or Aelita down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching my Pride Month series, and I can't wait to make more content for this channel. This is Queen of Penguins saying peace out and happy belated Pride Month.